We are live with the XSS Rats. Do an amazing demonstration today from what I've heard. For those who are either trying to get into the field or they're in the field or they're trying to expand upon their skills in cybersecurity. Yeah, and I will pass this on to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys may know me, you may not know me, so I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Wesley Thijs. What do I do for a living? I do whatever the hell I want. And that sounds crazy, but that's what I know what the hacker mindset is for me. Because I am a consultant. I did everything. I did networks engineering. I did software development. I have a degree in all of this stuff as well. And then I went on, I have a chemistry degree. I literally do what I want in life. And that's kind of what makes it so nice for me, that hacking part, is that you can do anything. So I tried to build like an online presence because I wanted a pen testing job. But then after like a year or two, I realized like, screw this crap, I can do it myself better. And that's what I like. I am so stubborn to a degree that's good, to a degree that's also not good. But that has brought me to where I am today. And when it comes to hacking, there's many different paths that one can walk. What you have to understand, guys, is that if you want to get into hacking, if you've been hacking for a little bit, you've probably already had this feeling where there's so much to learn, right? We've all had that feeling like, oh crap, there's like a shit ton of websites that I can go visit. Everybody's explaining IDOR in a little bit of a different way. Well, I'll tell you one thing, that feeling goes away after a while. After you've looked at 10,000 XSS articles and IDOR articles, and like it may take you a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years for some, it doesn't matter. But after a while, you'll be like, okay, now I have a good basis and now I have to specialize. But there's this curve when it comes to knowledge retention. And you have to know that at the very beginning, it doesn't take a lot of effort to learn a lot. But as you progress, it's going to take more effort to learn smaller and smaller increments of knowledge. Now, that's really good, but that's also really bad, because that means you can specialize. But I don't like specialized people, in the sense that I wouldn't hire somebody who is extremely specialized in web only. These guys have their place for sure, but I like people who are chameleons, who are able to adapt to their environment. And that's what a true hacker is for me, because a hacker that can only hack a website is good, really good, well done already. You're already far ahead of most people, because hacking a website isn't even on their bucket list. But for us, it seems to be a daily activity. You need to realize that when you do this type of stuff, that the hacking part of it, just try to be as adaptable, as malleable as possible, because we get these evolutions like AI, crypto, like God knows what else. Heck, my smart fridge upstairs needs to be hacked, if anybody's interested in that.
I heard about sewing machines too. They have Wi-Fi connectivity now.
For sure. I have drones. I have so many drones. That's one of my hobbies. And they are hackable. Of course they're hackable. That's what I like about this. I started recently experimenting with 3D printers. I literally screw them apart and just put them back together to see how they work. It's interesting stuff, because then I can also learn how to hack the signal. Don't tell anybody, but I have an electric scooter, and I I hacked that to go maybe a bit faster than it should, maybe. But hacking, like, the question I have for you guys in the chat is, if you were to think about learning how to hack something, it doesn't matter what. Imagine the simplest device that you have, where you can, for example, a 3D printer. The dumbest 3D printer you have has heating elements. These heating elements only go to a certain degree. Well, you want them to go hotter because you want to melt different types of plastic. What am I trying to say here? You need to learn how things work before you can learn how things should not work. And I want to ask you guys, what's the definition of hacking for you? If you have ideas, put them in the chat. I would love to hear them. because I have a very strong opinion about that, of course, but that's just my opinion. There's a lot of different theories that go around about that, of course, like what hacking is, that it's different for everyone. I think that I am trying to say here, this is the only correct definition. What I always imagine hacking to be is using something in a way that is not intended to be used, right? That's of it for me. If I want to hack a website, I want to use it in a way that it is not intended to be used. And if I want to learn how something shouldn't be used, well, it's really simple. Learn to read a fucking manual. Have you ever heard the acronym RTFM? Read the fucking manual. Well, it's very common, and I usually focus on bug bounties quite a lot. I usually try to really egg people on to go for business logic vulnerabilities, business heavy applications, because that's the one thing you could never really teach a computer, in my opinion, is logic, real logic. You can also think of it in a way as people say, oh, AI is going to pick out a lot of the vulnerabilities for us, maybe in isolated situations. But when it comes to like real hacking, there is so much to be had at that business logic step, because with all due respect, people have trouble predicting the future, predicting how things will work. And this is something you don't even really need any hacking experience to hack with me on this. The thing we're looking for mostly is business logic vulnerabilities. I can already tell you this. It's real simple. We have a blog here. Welcome to our brand new revolutionary site. Here you can like your favorite blog post, but remember, you can only like each post once. The challenge? We've been told there's a business logic exploit on our site. Can you find it? With these requirements in mind, you know how this site is supposed to work. What would you do? Like I said before, it's like for now we need to learn how this site works. We have a description, but it's not complete. And that's where the danger lies a little bit, because sometimes you might look at a manual, for example, but people don't update manuals. So you'll often have like an outdated manual with the software you're using. Try to keep that a little bit in mind. I can leave a bit of a comment here. I can leave multiple comments if I want to. And I can only like a post once, or I should only be able to like a post once. It literally tells. This is really simple business logic vulnerability. How would you find this in real life? In a more of a race condition way, for example. If I see a like button and it restricts me from clicking on that like button multiple times, I'll spam the ever-living crap out of it, trying to click on it multiple times that way. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to put a bunch of requests in Turbo Repeater or Turbo Intruder, and I'm just going to fire them off at once, because it often happens that there are systems at play that you don't even know what's going on. And this is very common in the hacking world. A very simple system like this, where you can only like, reply, do nothing else. It seems like there should only be one computer, right? Literally one computer sitting there. But it could also be a load distributed system where you have a load balancer or an API gateway in front, or any replication, caching. It can all have influence on the way that the results of these queries are treated. So if I can send a bunch at once, and guess what, guys? I'm a performance tester. I do performance testing. So I know the tools I need to do this. I can spam websites to shit. A funny story about that. I was once hacking AWS, an AWS target. And in AWS, they have what's known as lambdas. Imagine that you have a peak. So you're, for example, a streaming service. There's a football game being streamed. Well, you're going to expect a peak in performance, right? You don't want to spin up extra APIs, extra resources just for this peak. So a Lambda can take that extra peak temporarily and destruct itself once it realizes it's no longer needed. Now, the problem comes when you send requests, Lambda servers get started. But while they are starting, if more requests come in, more lambdas will start. you can already see how a performance tester like me likes to take advantage of that and drain your budget to crap. I got rewarded heavily for that. You can imagine.
I believe it.
It's funny because these are the least technical bugs that I can probably imagine. It's literally just thinking, oh, Lambda, while the Lambda's starting up, does it do anything? I can think about that because I know like cloud infrastructure, I know API gateways, but guys, I have like 10-ish years of experience as a software consultant in QA and quality assurance. I have like pretty much all of the relevant certificates in that regard. I'm certifying myself in different degrees, but that's how I know all of this stuff. Every year I get into a different company on purpose because I get bored. I literally get bored of the work after a year because there's nothing new to learn, and then I move on to the next. This allows me, I'm never really super specialized in one thing, except maybe Jenkins at this point, because that's something I do day in and day out. I literally do nothing else than Jenkins servers, it seems like. But there are certain, yeah, for sure. And of course, performance testing, because I got an expert certification. Okay, never mind. Scrap that last remark. That wasn't a good remark. Okay.
It's fine.
I do specialize in shit. The problem is just that I don't have this thing where I can pick. It's like, oh, I want to do performance testing. Let me go to Paris to get my expert certification in Neoload. There's a new tool, JMeter. I want to get certified in that. Oh, look, a new tool, Gatling. Let's have a go. And that's always my problem. I get noticed by about 60 to 70% more headhunters than friends with relevant experiences in one area. And it's just because I get different headhunters asking me stuff. Like sometimes I get some programming stuff, sometimes I get networking, sometimes I get QA. I just pick what's available and pays me best. And that's the beauty of it. Right now, it seems like I'm in a QA role, but I do pretty much nothing but DevOps all day, every day. And I literally fix all of their problems. That's the kind of guy or girl you want to be. If you are the guy or girl that take all when they have a problem, it's really difficult to get rid of you. And you are at that point, you can ask for more. Like I recently got a pay increase of 100 euros per day. So every day I get 100 euros more just because I asked for it. I was like, you guys know just as well as I do that I'm unmissable here.
Yeah,
was a fun conversation.
To know your worth.
For sure. I underestimated my value for a long time, but because of that, I did get chances to get certified for free, which is nothing short of incredibly valuable. Like getting certified through work, holy shit, that saved me thousands of dollars, but also it forced me to do it. Because try forcing yourself to get a damn certificate. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
I can tell you that. No, for sure. Dang. But now I'm in a role where I am problem solver, DevOps engineer, and that allows me to learn things like this, how companies operate. And it also allows me, for example, to find bugs where I can take over your entire account with literally just a login page. The login page, you guys know the email, the one-click links that you can get through email to sign in, right? Sometimes you can give your email address, it sends you a link, and it logs you in through that. Because basically, we've realized in the last few years that passwords are pretty much useless. They're trash.
Yeah.
So we're looking for other ways of authentication. You guys know that two-factor authentication is big, but also email. We assume that if you have access to your email, that you are who you are. We assume that if you have access to your phone, that you are who you are. But here comes the real kicker. I once was hacking a system, and this was from the American government, from no less than a well-regarded security instance, which I cannot name. But these guys had a system where you could log in, and you could enter your email address. But if you duplicated the parameter for the email address, there are two servers at work here. One server to generate that link for you, and the second to send the email address. Now, these dumb shits, They forgot that since it's two systems, one system acts in one way and another system looks at the second parameter. So it would generate a link for you on the first one and then just send it over to the second one to send to the email address that last found in that string. I entered your email address, I entered mine extra, and I have your login. These fuckers, they didn't reward me anything for this. Can you believe it? Here's how this story went. So I logged this ticket, right? And the triager, he didn't know jack shit. It was on HackerOne. The guy was like, I don't know what you're doing. I cannot reproduce this. You'll have to provide me with screenshots, which I already did in the initial thing. I always provide screenshots, but okay. I retried it. I also gave a video in the initial post, by the way. He still didn't get it. Posted another video, still didn't get it. Eventually had to go in a meeting with this fuckface to explain to him how to do it. And only then he was like, this ticket has too much history. Please close it and reopen it so we can start anew. I'm like, okay, no harm done. I can reclose this. And by the time I wanted to reopen the ticket, they fixed it. They deployed a fix.
Wow. You went through all that.
Nothing I could do because it was fixed. At that point, it was fixed. And who are you going to complain to? The government? There's nobody helping you in this situation. It's like, tough luck. Better luck next time. And the best part is, I did this with another bounty hunter together. And he thought I wanted to keep all the money for myself. He was like, share your screen. I don't believe you that these triagers don't believe you. This exploit is so fucking simple. My grandmother should get this.
Oh boy.
He didn't believe me. He was like, no, you're faking this. I know you're faking this. Oh, it's not true. I refresh your screen. But that's okay. We all get these situations as hackers, which are dicey, real dicey. But you just need to not complain. I think that's the worst thing you can do is go on Twitter and complain about it. Even though I'm complaining about it now, sometimes you just have to get it off your chest.
It's okay. It's your story, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, but still, I don't want to complain because I feel that complaining, the negative situation is there. What's a complaint going to do, right? The negative situation happened. I'm just trying to tell this, hopefully, so you guys learn from this a little bit, and that triagers are really good. 95% of them are really good. 95% of the programs are really good. But if you're really out there hacking, there is a 5% that you need to watch out for. So cover your asses on every degree. And especially if you're like pen testing, because I know a lot of you guys are also growing into pen testers. Try to cover your ass as much as possible. If you can, film your screen and store it securely. There's nothing wrong with this. If so long as you store it properly and securely and have a retention policy and you let people know, of course, this should be in your contracts if you have your own pen testing company. But that's what I do. I just send out a contract that says I have a 30-day retention policy on any footage taken during the execution, period. And that's enough. Just to cover your own ass, because I know how this goes. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, we got hacked. Like what I have happened before is that I tested a website with a very specific scope, and 2 months later they got hacked. And they said that I should have found that vulnerability. First of all, my contract covers this. My contract says that I am never held responsible for any final damages, period, unless it's egregious or it's my own negligence, I believe, something like that. I'm dwindling here. Just make sure that you cover your asses, especially when you go into pen testing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bad actors out there. And something that we always try to do in our CNWPP certification is make sure that we introduce threat actors into the game. Because I always say once you get a target, you become a target. And especially if it's like a high value target. We tested Poloniex at a certain point, which is a cryptocurrency exchange. You do everything in your power to secure these people, like literally everything. We bought $1,000 software suite so we could just store things securely. But we made a hell of a lot of money on that.
Your CNWPP certification, how did that complement your ethical hacking skills?
It's a very good question. So what we try to do in our CNWPP certification is not just normal introductory hacking or something. I'll tell you what's more, like in our certification, if you give me, before you start hacking, a full list of coverage you want to do, and after your 8 hours, you were not able to cover 20% and you let me know, and there was a critical exploit that you missed in the 20%, I will not fail you for that. Because you were very clear in your communication, you were open about it, and you gave me a proper plan. That's something my students almost never do. And believe me, I fail pretty much everybody for this. Like the first time people come around, pretty much everybody fails. And it's not because I want to be like super tough or something like that, but it's because I have quality requirements, and if you don't meet them, sorry, tough luck. I want to be able to put you in my customer's care. Like my customer, I want to be able to put them in your care. I try to do more than hacking. There's network, website, and API hacking, of course, that matters. But I want to form pen testers, different than hackers. A hacker is great to work with, but believe me, I've hired way too many hackers in my time. The problem is these guys can be good, but they're unreliable. It's like I asked them to test something today, and I'll ask them to test it tomorrow, and I'll have different results. That's something I absolutely cannot stand. If a student of mine takes their exam one day and the coverage that they should get says me that they should get that same exploit in a different exam attempt, that tells me that they haven't put their coverage up. Like, I am not going to watch your screen while you do this. I don't care what you click, what you type. I don't give a crap about that. I'll read that from the plan. If I see from the plan that you're doing things correctly, and I see from the execution that everything went right, there's never a hitch. But I always see the same. People don't plan properly. I give them 4 hours to write me a test plan. 90% finishes within an hour, 100% finishes within 2. Why would you do that? You have 4 hours to explore this application. You can't hack it. You can't try to insert an attack vector, but you can already put things in order. Like I'm literally giving people more than they need because of this. And I also don't just want them to make a test plan. What I do when I make something like this is I make a coverage report where every endpoint has the things which I want to test for already marked in an Excel sheet. That way I can test and I can continue where I left off without having to worry if I've already tested something or not. This goes for both bug bounty hunters and normal like pen testing. If you do any type of hacking, if you take shitty notes, you do shitty hacking because you need to give your client something at the end. And if you take shitty notes in your report, what's the point of the report? That's literally what your client pays for. They pay 10, 15,000, 20,000 euros for a report. It can't be bad. That's the first mistakes I made. To answer your question, what do I want to do with my certificate? How do I want to add to your IT careers? Is I want to make sure that you have all your bases covered pretty much. I want to make sure that if I were to put you in one of my customers, like if I need you to test my customer, that you're able to do it. Why do I think it's so important? Because we've been hacked several times before. Once due to my stupidity because I didn't change a password after I fired somebody, but also several times not. The way that we've been hacked before is we have labs. We have rootable labs. That's obvious, right? Like not all of these labs are rootable, but some of them are, period. Because, well, I can't cover all of my bases. I try to cover as much as I possibly can, but I'll slip up left or right. And I had one of these API labs that had WorkZug enabled. Anybody know of WorkZug? I think that's how you pronounce it, WorkZug. With WorkZug, if you have that enabled, you can pretty much console into your applications. So I could console in, and I still do. My API labs are still offline. You can see that. That way you can root the server because you can execute any type of Python command. So you can make a reverse shell. The stupidity that I made was executing this as a root user. And the problem was on the server, I had a GitHub personal access token or like some kind of token, not password protected. So the guy was able to literally get on the server, get to my GitHub that way. He was able to get to a bot token from GitHub, and that way he was able to hack my bot. You can see that even for us, we are constantly working with security. We're literally constantly trying to defend from hackers while having things open for hackers. It's one of the most difficult things there is. And it's super easy to get lost in this like basically you cannot see the forest through the trees anymore because you're constantly in it and you're constantly like working on improving. Anyway, sorry, sort of lost track there.
I asked you a long question on purpose.
I was talking about business logic. My apologies. This is my problem. I always keep ranting. This is a normal web shop, you'd say, right? You have, you can buy things like a Wi-Fi pineapple, a land turtle, rubber ducky, you know, the hacking tools, basically. And you have prices, and you have a stock, and you have a wallet. So there's pretty much not that much to test on this website, right? Is there anything you guys would say, this is something that I would try to test here? You can throw out the simplest test you can imagine. If not, no problem. We can see a price. We can see that we have wallet. We have money in our wallet. That's the first thing that I would test for. There's 7 vulnerabilities in here, by the way. So you can see that
I
at the
didn't
very
see that
bottom.
earlier.
Oh,
my bad.
You have literally 7 exploits in here, so let's make it fun. We currently have 3 Wi-Fi pineapples. That's not gonna be enough, right? We need a few more. We had 3. Okay, so we don't have enough money for this. We have only $500. This would be about 700. Let's try to go to checkout. But yeah, whatever. It lets us check out, so that's already a problem, right? What's another problem with the checkout? The stock isn't decreasing. That's a problem, right? So we have 2 things already that could be a problem. Now, if I try to buy something that is bigger than what I have in my wallet, so if I would try to buy something like this, the wallet doesn't reduce. That's also something. No, continue shopping. Okay, so we have a few things in here. 3, 4. Proceed to checkout. Also seems to just work for some reason. Definitely shouldn't be working. So yeah, I'm trying a lot of different things here, which are really basic, but a lot of people forget about. That's why QA is so good, because and of course you will never find exploits this simple on a website, but you will find exploits where you can say, like, I don't know if you guys have ever worked for companies where you get reimbursed for the kilometers that you drive. I've hacked websites where you have to enter a start point and an end point, and it'll calculate how many kilometers that is, and it'll calculate your reimbursement. The only idiocracy there was that it was calculated in JavaScript. So you could literally pass anything and then just change the kilometers. Oh God. There was unfortunately a duplicate. I wish that wasn't. But yeah, it's just simple stuff like this, which is like, why do people skip this? I once got paid $750 because there was a user manual that said you cannot deactivate super admin accounts. I tried it. I was able to do it. That seemed like a security risk to me, so I reported it, and they were pretty happy about that. Another stupid thing.
Yeah,
I was testing a web. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, yeah, you know, when you put things on JavaScript, it's not the most secure scripting language out there.
No, indeed, and especially not. Well, there are always things which are like you should never do client side, and this is one of them.
Yes.
Calculation should probably never happen on that degree.
No, it shouldn't be, like you said, it shouldn't be that simple.
No, and it often is that simple because I once was hacking a website where you have different account types. So You could register and you could be a reseller or you could be a venue. And when saving your account settings, in the request, nowhere did it state account type, but in the response, I could see that the object had a property account type. Of course, I'm going to try to change this. What the hell do you think I am? Some kind of noob? So I tried to change it and bam, it works. Like literally 5 minutes of work, another $500 bounty. And it seems, of course, like I'm making things very simple here. But before even finding this website, I already tested 7 others. And then I finally come across this website where it says, an account type. Why not try to change that? Everything you need to realize is that developers are lazy people. And I don't mean that in a degrading way. I mean that in a lovely way, because we love to automate things. We love to make things like in the computer that can make itself. So when you talk about objects, objects have properties, and properties have getters and setters. These getters and setters, I will not manually create getters and setters for every property. I'm just going to auto-generate them. If your property account type has a setter and that setter is reachable, well, bam, there you have it. What developers will often do is that auto-generating of code. And another thing you need to know about developers is that we as developers, when we make a bug, we're tended to make more. Tempted, I should say. It's like, as a developer, you either have a shitty day and you create the worst code imaginable on all fronts all day. So you're committing like 12 bugs into a system and maybe 4 bugs get through. Or you have a weakness in your development skills. Could be access control, for example. If I find an IDOR in one endpoint, believe me, I will test the entire website front to back 17 times for IDOR, because I know that as a developer, we have the tendency to make the same mistake across the application, or there is a clustering of defects, all grouped together within one module. Could also have just been a shitty intern that has made a module that's full of bugs. So if you realize this, you realize that I am eliminating things to test for on a very strategic basis. I will, if I see an IDOR, I will test that entire module front to back, and I will test for IDORs front to back, and probably also access control on other levels, like function and property level, yeah. So I am narrowing down what I'm testing for, because if in this entire application I am entering single quote, double quote, backtick, and all of these things, and I don't see a single indication that there is a SQL injection, then why would I continue looking for it, right? Versus IDORs, I know that developers know they need to sanitize their input by now. The thing is just that I also know that if you forget to sanitize on one endpoint, you're fucked. And that's how it happens in real life. There is often access control modules, like access control factories in development. There's design patterns around security. And one of these design patterns, for example, said that you should do centralized access control. That is something that often developers will implement, but then forget on one endpoint. And that's where you need to strike. And that's why so many bug bounty hunters give up, because they look well, they have a good methodology, but they are not driven enough to test every endpoint's parameters for all of the things possible. And often they're also not smart enough to realize what a certain parameter can do. If I have a parameter in front of me, I already see if that is reflected on a page, so I can do cross-site scripting. If it goes into a database, you can do SQL injection. I'm already thinking in my head what this parameter could do. And that's how I, with process of elimination, am sometimes a bit faster than some people in that regard. You can do the same
I'm glad you brought that up too, because it's really important to, like you said, to have different methods. If one doesn't work, then move on to the next one, because there's a lot that you can test on an application.
For sure, and especially in bug bounties. I don't get why people are so driven to test things they don't like. You can be sure that when I do bug bounties, there's 4 exploits I focus on. Literally just 4. It's just IDOR, broken access control, XSS, And on a very rare occasion, I will also be looking for things like SQL injection.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, business logic. But that's about it. And through this method, I was able to find about 20 vulnerabilities in a month. I am pretty sure that if people start to like, first things first, you need a goal, right? You need a goal.
Yes.
If you just do any type of hacking, bug bounty hunting, pen testing, doesn't matter, any type of hacking without a goal, you'll get sick of it. Period. You have nothing to work toward, especially for us, right? Like we have
Yes.
such difficulty with this.
Yeah, you get excited as soon as you learn something new. You're like, oh, let me try this and let me try that. Get sidetracked.
And once you're a pen tester, what do you do from then? Like once you know hacking, there isn't much more to become, if you know what I mean. It's like you're already a hacker. Okay, what do you do now? Do you become a very specialized mobile hacker? What do you call those people? I mean,
Right, yeah.
so it's not like you can grow towards a category anymore. Really, at a certain point, of course, you can still like that's just why I love hacking as well. You can do so much with hacking, but it's also a point why so many people quit after a while because they'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, I know a little bit of how to hack now. It's not as glamorous as I thought it would be because often people think hacking is very glamorous. I don't know if you
Yes, they
noticed
do.
this. It's not. It's literally looking at parameters all day, every day. But that's what's so fun for me because every parameter holds a new challenge, holds new secrets. Every time I'm able to see, like even an error message coming through in an application, I'm already foaming at the mouth because I'm like, oh, they have this implemented, and I see that they have maybe a load balancer that's arranging things. Every little piece of information matters. And I
Yes.
think after years of doing this, you'll get used to it. If I see this now, I know what are normal headers. I don't look at this header anymore because I've looked up what it is. I don't look at this header, but maybe there's a interesting header, it'll automatically catch my eye. If there's any type of little discrepancy in an application, it'll catch my eye. I notice if I'm testing access control and sometimes I get an empty page and it just doesn't load in anything. And sometimes I get a 403. In my head, I'm already like, that's two developers. Two developers made that for sure. And that's important because
Yes.
you need to realize, I think, as a hacker, that flaws can occur in two types of ways. They can occur within a code base of a team or person, or they can occur on integration points. And the integration point is where you need to look. And if you have two developers, that means they need to integrate with each other in some way. That's a weakness. That's where it matters. Because you need to be able to not just recognize weaknesses, you need to be able to recognize the strengths of an application and the holes in that strength. That's what real hackers grow towards, in my opinion, is we see things like applications and we already know how they should work. I'm already in my head making a diagram of what type of SQL database they could be using, what type of architecture there is. And when I've gone through this application once, twice, three times in a normal way without trying to abuse it yet, I'll know down what I want to test, but I don't do it yet. If I just do that, I already know how this thing works and I cannot get distracted anymore. That's my biggest problem. I constantly get distracted when I try things. Oh, look, I could try for XSS here. And bam, I'm left off for another 2 hours just trying random XSS attack vectors on some kind of injection point I found. But when I'm testing, what I'll do is I'll just go through the application and then I'll test all of the parameters for cross-site scripting. And how do I do that? Lazily, by entering my own polyglot, which is super simple. literally just a single quote. I'll show you guys in the repeater just so you know. It's literally just single quote, double quote, greater than sign, image equals image source equals X, so a broken image. I've noticed that a broken image gets past the filters a lot more than a B tag, for example. But this is just HTML code to try and find an HTML injection point. I'm also trying SQL injection, and I'm also trying injection for XSS in another the HTML tag attribute context, and I'm also trying it in the JavaScript context at the same time. While I'm at it, I'm going to throw in a little bit more. Just where is that stupid character? I cannot find it. I need that dollar sign. There we go. I'm using a different type of keyboard layout. That's why. And then like this,
good.
7 times 6. There we go. So that's my attack vector. And why? Because it's simple. If you look up a polyglot online, you'll get in different contexts, but you're so likely to trigger a filter. It's not even useful anymore at that point. With me, if I enter this into every single field on the website that I see, and I see even a broken image, even a glimpse of a broken image, I'm biting in like a pit bull. That's where I get my XSS attack vectors from. And before I even get that one broken image, I'll already have tested 4 full applications and 1 half application. And then I'll find maybe 1 parameter which gives me a broken image. And even then, I'm not guaranteed to get an exploit from this. There's so much more that is at play here. What are they blocking? Like, how can I get past filters? Even if I can get an exploit, do I have enough characters to make it useful for me so I can inject an attack vector there? And even at this point, people often give up and they'll report an HTML injection. That's okay. It's good enough. It'll get you where you need to be. But for me, it's not sufficient. I'll try to, at the very least, steal a cookie, steal a CSRF token so I can completely take over your account by changing email addresses. I'll try something funky, but not just keep it at an HTML injection because I know there's more.
Right. Yeah, and you're using Burp Suite for those who are not aware.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's very good. It's a community edition, so this is the free version. You're not using Pro.
No, indeed. I do that on purpose because I know a lot of my students use the community edition and it's easier for me that way. I have a Pro license, but only because it's like easy to save things when I'm doing a pen test. Then I can just export my save file and I can hand it over as a deliverable. You have no idea how much customers appreciate this extra effort. They don't use it. Believe me, they don't use any of this. I literally, for my customers, what I do is I give them repeatable tests. So everything I've done is documented in a way that my customer can repeat the same test. For Poloniex, we made a framework in Python that does a request in a CSV file. You have the link, you have the endpoint, you have the parameters which are relevant, and you have the injection. Then you have what the response should contain if it's vulnerable. So there's quite a few things there to take into account, but we were able to deliver a complete CSV file with tests that we've done to our customer. They never used it once, but they thanked us for it immensely. And it's because you don't get this from a like a Deloitte or something. These guys will only give you their reports. Nothing wrong with that, but going the extra mile pays off, for sure. I really appreciate what you do here, Angie. It's really awesome that all of these awesome people get to learn.
Yes.
It's not nothing, guys. This is what I want to encourage each and every one of you who is watching right now to go and do. Teach somebody else what you know. You may think you know nothing, but believe me, you're lapping everybody who's sitting on the sofa watching TV all night long, every single night. You're lapping them over and over. You know so much more than you give yourself credit for. Every single, I know it. I just know it. We as humans do that thing where we're like, I don't know anything. Can you believe that I still have that feeling? When I close my computer, I feel like I know nothing. When I open my computer, Yeah, and even like it's just the ADHD stuff. The problem is I forget things that are not in my sight. And if I that's why my notes are so important. If I don't open my notes, I have a board there, I have a board there, and I have a board there which I put notes on. If I don't do that, it's because these things are immediately catching my attention. But
Right.
for you, while you're learning, take notes, guys.
Yeah.
Currently I'm going through the OS web security testing guide as if it's a certificate. I'm
Hmm.
literally taking notes, I'm studying it, and it helps because once again, it may seem like you know nothing, but believe me, my students, I get them up to speed to where I am in about 3 months' time. And that's not on a technical, it's not on the level of, oh, they know API gateways and they don't know. It's if they know the technical stuff, then I
Hmm.
get them up to speed in about 3 months. So it's not as difficult as people make it out to be, especially cross-site scripting. You just have
Yeah.
to like know what you're talking about in a sense, but don't be scared to teach others what you already know. You may have
Yes.
this fear of like, I may teach people the wrong things or something, but believe me, there's a lot of personalities on the internet that are teaching people the wrong thing. It's
Hmm.
not about teaching somebody the right thing or the wrong thing. It's about giving them the knowledge that you have. And it's up to
Yeah.
them to discern if this knowledge is useful and good. It's like
Yes.
the same goes for my courses. I give you guys the knowledge. I try to teach you guys in
Hmm.
my courses what I know to a large degree. That does take up to 260 lessons per course.
Wow.
But
That's a lot.
what I
That's good though.
thank you, I appreciate it. I always try to do better. What I see on the internet is I wanted to learn cross-site scripting when I got started, right? But
Hmm.
the first course that I bought was $40, and the guy only went over OSP shop, nothing else, and like literally that and reflected, stored, and like just basic cross-site scripting stuff. So I was like, hold on, I can do this better. Let me build some labs. Let me learn cross-site scripting. And now what we try to do is in every single chapter we have the like the explanation. We try to put in a demo. We try to put in an article, a PowerPoint, a quiz, and labs. So every chapter should have proper knowledge retention. That's what we're trying to kind of do there.
I think I took one of the courses. I don't think it was for pen
Thank
testing
you.
per se. I think it was for bug bounty hunting. It was the difference between bug bounty hunter and pen tester. And I feel like that was really important to know because some people, even when I see it in interview settings or whatnot, they try to always try to mix them in as if it's one role and they're not.
I know I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here because I sell bug bounty courses, but bug bounties, guys,
Mhm.
it's a scam. It's a scam. Why do I say this? It's because they make you believe that it's about money and rewards and getting no. It's about doing what you want in hacking. If I put you on a pen test, I am 100% sure that you're bored of it by day two because it is
Mm.
very constricted in what you can do. You're not going to go out and explore SQL injection attack vectors on my time. Believe me, I've done that for you. You'll
Mhm.
execute what I've done. And that's different because even at that point, I am not in documentation. I am trying to think of proper new bypasses or something for my customers. There's never a moment where I'm like, I really want to learn about this thing in cross-site scripting. It's valuable for my customers. That's
Mhm.
the difference is pen testing is all about customers. It's 100% customer relations. And the hacking itself, believe me, it matters nothing because you won't be the one that does the actual hacking thinking. You'll be the one that does the execution because they thought of ways to test this, and now it's up to you to do that on 100 parameters.
Yeah.
But don't let that discourage you because you need that. You need to know what's out there before you can learn what you want to specialize in. I know that mobile hacking exists, but I don't know what it entails. I do, of course, but it's just an example.
Right.
That's why that's why I'm so glad with my role, because I was a test lead for a mobile test farm and I had to manage my test farm. I did mobile test automation. I know what these devices can do and how to intercept traffic and stuff like that. It's the same for APIs. I work with
Mhm.
APIs consistently. I'm so lucky that I've been able to work in so many areas. That's been my greatest, I think, perk, I would say, because that has allowed me to really get into hacking where I want to be. I'm at a certain point
Yeah.
now in hacking where I can say, if I have a assignment, I can do it myself, or I can let somebody else do it, or whatever. Or I can do bug bounties if I want to. And that's what I was coming back to. Bug bounties is a scam because pen testing, they've already done this very consistent work. And now you've been made to believe that there is a lot of money to be had for you. There's a lot of money to be had for the people at the very top who are able to do this on a consistent basis. I know people who can get like one crit a month or a few crits a year. That's cool. I know people who can get consistently 20, 30 medium vulnerabilities in a month. That's also cool. But what's really good about these people is they do what they want. You cannot tell them that they have to test for SQL injection because they'll laugh at you. They do what they want anyway. And that's the
Right.
beauty of it,
I know we
of
talked about the
course.
technical side. Maybe let's talk about the soft side. Like, what soft skills do you think are the most valuable for cybersecurity professionals?
I would say one of the biggest perks that you need is adaptability. I've talked about that very much already. And then second thing is people skills. You need to be able to work with people really well. And it's not because you need to, how do I say this? You need to be able to work with people well because you need something from them. I would never recommend diving into this without getting a mentor that's a little bit above you, not like massively above you, because then there's a skill gap. Then you're gonna have problems. But if you do this alone, you can do this alone if you have that kind of, like, how do I say this? You can do this alone if you have that curiosity, but it'll take you longer, period. And that's why I always recommend mentors. I myself still pay a mentor. I pay them $100 every 2 weeks for a 2 hour conversation. And that's one thing, but also people skills towards the people you are going to have to work with, because you will be thrown into teams. You cannot do this on your own anymore. We are working
Right.
with applications that have parameters which are hundreds or thousands of times bigger than they were before. So if you have a very big technical knack, but you are a problem in the team, you're out, period. You can be as good as you want. If you're a problem in the team, you're out. And
Right.
being a problem in the team can be so diverse, right? It can
Mm-hmm.
be that, like, I had this stupid thing at work where I have a colleague, and I love this colleague, but it has happened twice already that I've been called into war rooms at 7 a.m. because of his stupidity. He committed on the wrong branch, he committed on the wrong project, he does stupid things. I know that. The team knows that. Everybody knows that. But they're not going to fire him for it. Everyone does stupid things. And I can be a dick about it. I can be a problem about it. Or I can try to teach him how to do this properly. And
Right.
that's two mindsets that are really important. It's the same for with my managers. I can I know that on a technical level, when I'm talking with my manager and their manager, I can make my manager seem like nothing and myself like fantastic. But I will win nothing with this, because when it comes to people getting fired, recently 50 consultants had to go in our company. I stayed. I am one of the few consultants who stayed because I try to not be a problem at my best. And that is people skills, in a sense that I need to understand people. And
Yes.
I'm going to go very deep here because this is I think my biggest advantage in that area, I can understand things pretty quickly. I've already gone over this in my presentation. If you give me an application and I can test it, I can sort of work out how it works. I can never guarantee you it's 100%, but it's the same with people. You're going to have to understand people, understand their goals, understand that if you lift them up, they'll take you with them. If you put them down, they're going to put you down with them. Believe me. And there's times where you're going to make those mistakes as well. There's going to be times where you're going to be the idiot. Do you want them to treat you like the idiot, or do you want them to come to you and peacefully negotiate, get to a good situation?
Yeah,
Now, one caveat I have to make there is that sometimes you also have to stick with it. In our team, peer reviews are not a thing. And I've tried for 6 weeks already to get that in. It's still not in. I'm not giving up. I want peer reviews. That would get rid of this whole stupidity where people commit on the wrong projects, on the wrong branches. Like peer reviews would do so much, not for them, but for me. I have ADHD, so I forget things. So yeah, just people skills in general, understanding things and being adaptable are really important factors for me.
I agree. That's what people don't understand. It's not just all technical, there's soft skills too. The culture is important. Collaboration is important. We all work together to achieve the same goal.
I had to fire so many hackers because they couldn't work like normal people. It's like, I don't know how to say this, but if you asked them to work in a team, you had to be the manager and they couldn't work together. They were like, okay, I have an overview of the work, you do this section, you do this section, but they couldn't work. I just fire people like that. What's the point in having them? Like, there's two people that I love working with at the moment, which are Marius and Orgis. I can ask these guys things, and if they can figure it out amongst themselves, which is so beautiful. I don't have to like be mediator all the time. I don't want to do that. That's not why I got into this field. I already have enough trouble with people skills myself. Come on.
Okay, I got a good one. How do you create the sense of belonging and acceptance that you value in the cybersecurity community?
That's a really good one because I have this, like, since the start, I've said that alone we survive, but together we prosper. And that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that's why I've sort of like started the Rat Pack. I really wanted to stop people from feeling so alone. I don't know about you guys, but as a hacker, I feel very lonely, very lonely. I can't talk to my wife. I cannot talk to my kid. I cannot talk to my mom. I cannot talk to anybody about this stuff. Just looking, what I did was I looked for a buddy, a hacking buddy at the start. And together we were going to do OSCP. I have this competitiveness in me that if you tell me that another person is hacking with me, I want to have it hacked first because I want to explain to them how I've hacked it and I want to give them tips and I want to be the person who knows it. So that's sort of like, I know that. I play into that from myself. I will always play into that. And that hacking buddy as well, what he can do is just, you can screen share. What that does for me is that guy doesn't even have to watch my screen, but just because I'm sharing, I will work harder and more. And of course, I'm not saying everybody should constantly work hard and not have any fun, but just being where somebody else will motivate you to no degree because you have somebody else you're doing this for as well. You don't want to be left behind. Now, one thing you will notice is that you will feel left behind because you see Beluden, one of my guys, one of my students, he has 6 hours per day to spend on hacking. He has a wide base of technical knowledge. And then I've Ikajakam. Ikajakam doesn't have all of this. Beluden found a bug in bug bounties. He found his first bug recently. It's normal that he feels sort of left behind here. Don't do that. When you join the group to not compare yourself to the others in that group. but to be
Yes.
lifted up by their knowledge, to strengthen yourself quicker by being surrounded by people who are constantly digging into the things that you're digging into. And that'll prevent your burnout, because I felt burned out. I still do. I have a family, I have a household that I need to maintain, I have cooking to do, I have stuff to do. I'm starting to feel
Right.
left behind because I don't have 2, 3, 4 hours per day anymore to create content. It feels bad not to put out a video because I have life, but I have life. And in the meantime, I've already built up this magnificent thing when I did have additional room for it. So for the people out there that are still young, that don't have any responsibilities, take your moment. This is it. Grow
Right.
now. Don't go growing later, because you won't have the time. I didn't listen to this advice. Well, I did to a degree, but I didn't know what it meant. Now I'm starting to know what it feels like.
That's what I feel like a lot of people are going through right now too. And I notice there's a lot of people that are career transitioners as well. Do you have any advice for them?
Important that you start mapping the time you need for your transition, mapping it out very carefully and estimating all of the steps that it will take. So start chunking down your work that you need to do. If you want to transition, for example, from a construction worker to somebody who is a hacker, you know that you need some programming knowledge. Learn how much you need, learn what you need to know, learn it, and then add that to your syllabus. You know that you need some networking experience, so learn some networking, take a Cisco certificate. But be realistic about this, because it takes a long time. I had about 7-ish years to do network engineering, and then also I did a chemistry degree, but at the same time I did programming. So I had about a good 17 years of technical experience behind me before I started even thinking about hacking. And now you want to transition from where you are into something else. It'll take time. So be realistic, but set that goal and don't be scared from that 2-year time frame. If it takes 2 years, it takes 2 years, but you can't know this if you don't chunk up your work and estimate it. And your estimations, they're going to be wildly wrong because you don't know any of this stuff yet, and it takes time. So it's important to also look back at this stuff, do a retrospective from time to time, and see if your plan is still realistic. I hope that helps.
You're giving so much good advice today, and I appreciate you coming.
When you're still younger, I'm younger is like 18, 19, 20, that kind of age range. The younger you are, the more possibilities you have in life. The older you get, the more doors close. So it's really important to realize that early on. And if you're somebody who is like at the moment 40 years of age and a construction worker and you want to get into hacking, it'll take you longer than somebody who's 20 years just because you have a little bit of an age difference. It'll take you longer to learn things naturally. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, and that also doesn't mean that the door is fully closed at that point. Like, it'll take maybe a bit longer, but as long as you're realistic, I think that there isn't a whole lot that we cannot do. If I am 50 years of age and I want to become a doctor, that's a different story, of course. Like that's a completely different story. But now that I have my kids, you need to realize as well that if you have children, forget about it. Just think really carefully, not about getting children, but how a child over the years would integrate with your learning plans. If you have a transition plan and you want to have a kid, and that kid is in the first few years of his life, that transition plan might still work, but your priorities also matter, of course. Like for me, it's simple. My priority at the moment is my child. My child is and still was and still is the Rat Pack to a degree, because that's what I've built up over the years. But now I have my attention to focus on something else, because I see that what I do directly influences this little one. Like impeccably. I can do something and I can see the influence on that kid. And that's sort of the shit that she has, is that her dad understands this kinds of stuff. Like, I have a very good relationship with her because I can very well understand her, but it's also a problem for her when she wants to do naughty stuff, of course.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. Personal
yeah.
branding. What's your perspective of making your own personal brand? Like, what's your own perspective on that?
I think it's very important to a degree, very important, because we live in a world where there are people that are much smarter than you and positions much higher, much stupider than you. I mean, look at me go. There are much dumber people in much higher positions than you, getting a lot more money than you, and they're dumb as shit. But just because they are confident and they can recognize that they need a personal brand, and I'm not saying that everybody should be like, here, I'm the rat, this is the rat bag. No, but you should know who you are and what your strong points are. If I go in a conversation with 10 of you guys and I ask you what your strong points are, I'm pretty sure that 10 of you are going to have to think about it for a minute. That's
Yeah.
not the right way. You should have a catchphrase. Hey, I'm the XSS
Mhm.
Rat. I hack anything, websites, mobile, API. You just give it to me and I'll hack it for you. That's sort of like how you can propose to hackers. For me, and I know that I keep that this sounds like a brag from top to bottom, but it's true. Every single interview that I've done for a job, they call me back. Every single one. And I do a lot of them. I'm a consultant. Every year I do interviews. I can pick what I want to do. Just know that personal branding is much broader than just an image or like whatever. No, the Rat Pack stands for something. The Rat Pack
Mhm.
stands for love, compassion, helping each other grow, and not growing at the cost of others. That's what the Rat Pack stands for. But that's also what I stand for. And if I am in a job interview, you ask me my positive points, I can give them to you. You ask me my negative points, I can give them to you in a way where they seem positive. It's something that you should have is at least an elevator pitch. Just a quick, hey,
Yes.
this is who I am, this is what I do. If you have that, you're already far ahead of other people. On top of
It's
that,
true.
build your LinkedIn. Just build your LinkedIn. Constantly work on it and post what you know. Grow your network. Grow the people that are around you. Because I can pick from the best hackers in the world for assignments just because I have this network. You can do
That's
the
true.
same. And you can do it the other way around as well. If I need a job, if they fire me tomorrow because the budget runs out, I'll have a job next month. All the way around, you have to connect with people, network, but you can't do that if you are not representing yourself in a positive light. And
Yes.
you need to stay humble in that. Don't get me wrong. Don't be like,
Mhm.
I'm the best, I'm the best. No. But know what you know and know what most people don't know. Because to you, knowing Python seems like the most ordinary thing in the world, but I can guarantee you, if you ask 100 people on the street to tell you one line in Python, they'll freeze up. Just realize that you're much more powerful than you realize. All of you are.
Having an elevator pitch is really good because you want people to be curious about what you are, but without having to say too much or too little. We actually talked about this in a previous coffee tea chat with Yessie. If you haven't watched that video, it's in the podcast playlist, and this is also part of the podcast playlist as well. Keep it interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, that's always been my problem. I feel like I talk too much. And other people tell me that I don't talk enough. Sometimes it's difficult, of course. You need to have that balance between not boring people and actually representing yourself in a proper way. But an elevator pitch can really help there.
AK Wesley, for joining us
Thank you.
today. I am so thankful because I've actually been following you for a while, and we've been talking here and there about like growth and our journeys within cyber. So yeah, I'm really thankful. I can't wait to look back at this footage too. And please share with me some of the resources that you shared that I can put in the description box of how they can reach out to you. And do you have any social media that you want to share as well, or any ways of how folks can contact you?
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much for reminding me. I always forget to promote myself. We just talked
Hi.
about this. Come on, Wes. So yeah, I'm going to put my Twitter in the chat. Twitter, it's not called that anymore, but it's okay. I also have a LinkedIn profile. I'm always open for connections because you never know. And of course, there's also my Medium. And on my Medium, I don't post as much anymore, but I still try to post from time to time. That's this one. And then, of course, there's also the XSSRat.com, where you can look at my courses. Now, I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, you have to pay so much for my course, but I do want to be the guy who puts a roadblock in your way. If they're like, I want you to do something for it. I don't want you to just like people that expect to get things for nothing. They don't use that thing. How often have you walked past like a stall where they give you free stuff and you're like, oh, screw it. Like I've done that before where I've walked past they hand out free cans of a new soda. I'm like, oh, I'll drink this when I get home, and I put it somewhere in the back of the fridge and I'll never look at it again. It's the same for courses, in my opinion, and it's the same for like the idea behind it. All the content is available online. All the syllabuses are open. You can look this up if you really want to, but I'm not going to be like that. Just send me an email on info@xssrat.com, and if I put it in there, and I'm always open for scholarship requests. That's no problem for me. Same goes for my certification. If I think you deserve the certification,
thank you. I was not
will
expecting all of these amazing resources.
Thank you so much, Angie, and thanks for all of the things you do. Like you say, we've been talking a little bit here or there, but I never was able to talk to you one-on-one, so I really appreciate this opportunity as well.
I hope this will not be our last time doing a coffee tea chat. You're definitely welcome to come back and share more things, maybe more new demos, other topics, even on the soft skill end. I feel like it's important to know bits of everything that makes up cybersecurity. People always just have one perspective, and it's good to bring in other perspectives.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.